Listen. People don't remember money. They remember impact. What are you building your house on? You gotta understand, time is your greatest resource. Goodness, let me get some water. So I definitely understand where you're coming from, but you don't need to do everything. Rick Warren said this: time is your most precious gift because you only have a set amount of it. God bless you guys. Guys, I am actually so excited to be here today, though. Thank you for everyone listening. Thank you for everyone hopping on. This is episode 1 of Navigating Wealth. And I'm so excited to do this podcast today, partly because I want to grow. Doing this podcast, I want to help others grow, but I want to grow alongside you guys. I want to grow alongside everyone listening, drawing something out of this, because there's always room for improvement, and I have so much more room to grow and improve, just as much or even more than all of you guys. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for hopping on. Please contribute. Write in the comments. If we could get some guests on the show, this would be an amazing experience, an amazing learning opportunity, both for you guys and for me. But yeah, I want to just cover what this podcast mission is and what I want to talk about and what I want to grow in and see you guys grow in as well. So Navigating Wealth is going to be a podcast that seeks to recognize and navigate through the wealth we already have, as well as then learning to act accordingly to generate wealth in the future. So I want this podcast to be about recognizing the abundance we already have, and then using that as a springboard to generate wealth in the future. Because I think wealth, and I'm not talking about financially, I'm talking about that too, but not exclusively. Wealth is brought about, wealth comes about by recognizing what you have and leveraging that for return in the future. Let's get into it. Episode 1 is going to be all about time, because I laid out 5 different pillars of wealth, 5 different areas or aspects that I truly believe are the pillars or the facets of wealth. So the first one is going to be time. And time is so incredibly important, because especially today, in today's day and age, because everyone has it and has the same amount, but some people use it more wisely than others. And you can see that in your friends and your family and those people you see online who use it more wisely. You can see it, you notice it. Because those who use it more wisely seem to have so much more of it. I've definitely noticed that, right? People who use time wisely seem to have so much more of it. People who don't use time wisely are always scrambling for time. They're always seeking more, and they always tell you, I don't have time for that. I've been so busy, I don't have time for that. And the people who use it wisely, I haven't heard them say that. They're like, we'll make it happen. Right? Because they know what time means and how to manage it. That's the first pillar. And I don't want to go in depth on each one on this episode, so I'm going to stretch them out. But the first one's going to be about time, so I'm going to talk a bit more about that. But the other pillars here, I've got, the second one is effort. Putting in the effort to generate wealth and to recognize what you have, right? Time without effort is futile. There's nothing to gain. Effort without time amounts to very little. Because as we'll see later on, billionaires don't become billionaires overnight. Millionaires don't become millionaires overnight. And what tends to happen is the amount of time they have and the way they use it correlates with the effort they put in, right? So you have 24 hours a day. Depending on how much effort you put in to those 24 hours, very often correlates directly with the results, the produce, right? The product that happens correlates with the effort you put into that block of time you have. That's the second pillar. The third pillar is going to be investment. Investing in your future, investing in the moment. Those are two different things, but two equally important things, right? If you're not investing time and effort into the present moment, you're going to lose out on life because there's always going to be something next. You're always going to chase something after, right? And if you don't spend time and if you don't value the moments you have now with friends and with family, you're going to lose out on so much, right? But if you don't invest for the future, you're always going to be living paycheck to paycheck, right? Use people that they get their paycheck, most of it goes to rent, food, gas, and they go out and party, right? They're not building wealth for the future. So you need to do both. You need to invest time in the present and enjoy the moment. And you need to invest time in the future and enjoy the future, right? And the fourth pillar here is generosity. And generosity is such a key element that often gets overlooked. And I put it down here because I read one of my very good friends recommended a book to me called The Platinum Rule, and I'll talk about it later too. But generosity is such a hidden key, such a hidden gem that reaps so much return, right? If you are generous, other people will be generous with you. And if you put in that time and that effort, you're being generous with your time and your effort, right? And people will see that and notice it and recognize it, and then you'll reap the benefits of that. Giving to get is a way to phrase that, right? Not necessarily giving to get, but give and you will get. The fifth pillar I have here is thankfulness. And that's one that people often overlook in that middle stage of life where they're not poor and they're not needy, but they're not rich either. Often those people right in the middle are the most unthankful because they've forgotten what it's like to be thankful and to be in that lower step, but they don't know what it feels like to be at the top. And so thankfulness is that fifth pillar of wealth that we need to remember to be thankful for what we have, no matter where we're at on that spectrum. All of those really interconnect with each other. There's not one that is more important than the other. There's not one that if you focus on one and ignore the rest, that's going to lead you to wealth. All those five, right? Time, effort, investment, generosity, and thankfulness, they all interconnect and they work together for your good. If you use each of those facets wisely, you will be a much happier and a much more wealthy person than you are today. And so when I talk about wealth, I want to clarify this because a lot of people just think money, financial, right? And that's certainly one aspect of wealth. But I think wealth is so much. I know that wealth is so much more than that, and it does include the financial aspect, right? To be wealthy, in part, means to have money and to have the resources to provide for your family, to provide for yourself, to provide for the people around you, right? But wealth can also be temporal, meaning the time you have is a form of wealth because not everybody has that time. Not everybody has that time. Think about that, right? A lot of people work 9 to 5s. They've got 8 hours a day where they work. I know a few people that work more than 8 hours a day. They work 12, 14, 16-hour shifts, and then they come home, right? Some people call it the second shift, and they have to care for the household, wash the dishes, feed the kids, clean them up. And the time that we have is so valuable. And I've talked about this before already, but being wealthy doesn't mean you have a lot of time, not necessarily, but it means managing your time wisely. Another thing that I mean when I talk about wealth is health, both mental and physical. Because if you're a physically abled and mentally capable person, you have so much wealth in that aspect, and a lot of people don't appreciate that either, right? Many people don't have that luxury. Some people are in wheelchairs. They have mental disabilities, right? They're wealthy in other areas, and they're often appreciative of where they're at in life, We need to recognize that as wealth too, right? Wealth doesn't just mean having money. It means being healthy. It means having time. And it also means like spiritual wealth and being emotionally wealthy in the sense that you either have a God that you honor and that you believe in, or that you are content with where you're at. Being spiritually wealthy is also an important part for mental and emotional and physical health, really. And then the last thing I have on here was company. Being wealthy in the friends you have. And I'll talk about this later too, but a lot of people don't choose good friends. And that's an important aspect to keep in mind, right? The friends you have in a way define who you are. They shape who you are. And being wealthy with good friends is one, it's a luxury. It really is. But it's also it's just good to have good friends around you that support you, that lift you up. And yeah, not everybody has that. So when I talk about wealth, I really mean those 5 elements of wealth, right? Financially wealthy, being healthy, having time, having good friends, and then being spiritually healthy. So all of those aspects, right? Just like the 5 pillars of wealth, they work together for that definition of wealth. And yeah, so I am super excited. I'm really stoked to get into this and talk with you guys about navigating through life, navigating through the wealth we already have, and then looking towards the future and seeing how we can generate wealth. And I don't want this to be just a lecture with me. Guests are coming in the future, but I just want to set the stage today and really explain and give the vision I have for this podcast and where I want it to go. Wealth is such an important aspect in life, in today's day and age especially, where a lot of people forget a lot of the things they have. And a lot of people don't appreciate what they have. And so I want to serve as that reminder to be content, and serve as a reminder on what can we do to grow that wealth that we possess already. Right, let's get into it. I'm excited. I already talked about the 5 areas, right? The temporal wealth, financial wealth, being healthy, having that spiritual wealth, having good friends around you. When I talk about wealth, I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about impact. Because people don't remember money. They remember impact. People don't necessarily care about your net worth as much as they care about how did you shape and change and influence the lives around you, right? If we listed the top 100 richest people on earth, we would not be talking about their net worth, right? It might be a number that's thrown around, but we would not be talking about that. We would be talking about what they accomplished. We would be talking about how they impacted the world we live in today, right? Elon Musk, he's a billionaire, right? Billions of dollars. We're not talking about his net worth. We're talking about Tesla. We're talking about SpaceX. We're talking about his Twitter acquisition, right? If we're talking about Warren Buffett, we're not talking about his net worth. We know he's a billionaire. How did he impact lives of people, right? He influenced greatly how the stock market operated and how people learned about the stock market. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the impact people have on others as they accomplish things, right? Think about it this way. Money is printed. It's paper. It's a bond between 2 people, right? Money isn't real in that sense. It's just a piece of paper. It doesn't exist, right? I think Andrew Tate said this. Money is the time and the energy of other people. So once we recognize what that actually means, it's going to greatly influence and change our way of thinking. Money is the time and energy of other people. Think about it. When you eat at a restaurant and you tip the waiter, right? So you give a $10 tip. You paid the waiter based on the time and the effort they put in to help you and to serve you, right? Every time you get paid, you're not getting paid based on participation points, right? You're not getting paid because you exist. You're getting paid because of the time and the energy and the effort, right, that you put in to make something happen. You work at a bank, you get paid based on your performance. You work in sales, any sales job, right? Commission. What's commission? You're getting paid based on your effort. You're getting paid based on the results you deliver to the company, right? So money is the time and energy of other people. Your goal in life shouldn't be to make as much money as possible. Because remember, money isn't real. Money is the time and energy of other people. So if your goal is to make as much money as possible, you're just trying to either expend the most time and energy as possible, which is a good thing, but your goal should be to make an impact on people. Your goal should be to make the greatest possible impact on people you can. Because remember, people, when we think of the richest people, we're not talking about their net worth. Doesn't matter how many millions they have in the bank, right? 400 million versus 401 million, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's not real. What we think about, what we talk about, is their impact. What do they do? And money is just the vehicle to do that, right? Yeah, you can see it very clearly, right? The more money people have, the more people are able to change this world. So your focus shouldn't be on making money. It should be on making an impact. How can we change this world for the better? And you don't have to be rich to do that. You don't have to be rich to make an impact. You don't have to be rich to influence people's lives and make a difference. People do that all the time on a small scale. Sure, does the world know about it? No. But your neighbors do. Your friends and your family do. They notice the work you put in. They notice what you accomplish, how you help them, how you help others, right? So making an impact doesn't have to be on a large scale. It can be small. And it often is small, right? What we need to stray away from, though, I'll try to come back to this again. What we need to stray away from is comparison, right? That person has so much more money. He's making such a greater impact. No, don't compare yourself. Comparison is the thief of all joy. Once you start comparing yourself to others, your happiness will take such an enormous plunge. It's ridiculous. You will not be as happy as you were once you start comparing yourself. Because there will always be someone better, right? There's someone going to the gym, worked out for an hour, saw Kobe Bryant, already in there. Kobe Bryant was shooting hoops, playing basketball, working out for that entire hour that other person was in there. And then another hour on top of that. Kobe Bryant said, I saw you come in, and I wanted to make sure that you knew that I was working and I was willing to work harder than you. That's insane when you think about it, right? So there will always be somebody, there will always be another person who is willing to work harder than you. So if you compare yourself in any aspect, it doesn't have to be work, it can be clothes, it can be money, it can be anything. There will always be a person who has more or is doing more than you. And that just sucks the life out of you. So you need to be focused on your own state of mind. You need to be focused on your own situation, right? Have that tunnel vision to succeed. Because once you start comparing, it's game over. I recently read The Happiness Hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt. And phenomenal book. Highly recommend. And in it, Jonathan Haidt mentioned the different ways that our levels of happiness are influenced. And there's a ton of different ways, but the formula he kind of set up was that happiness equals your set level of happiness, where you start at, because everybody has that initial state of happiness, right? So if this was an interesting study he actually did as well, or wrote about, I can't remember. But a person who wins the lottery is going to be ecstatic, immensely happy. But it takes about 1 to 2 years for that happiness to subside and return to that base level of happiness. Now, on the opposite side of the spectrum, a person who loses everything, and I think the study was with quadriplegics, people who became quadriplegics, deeply depressed. But it takes, on average, 1 to 2 years to return to that set level of happiness. And that's crazy to think about. So no matter where you are on that level, right? If something tragic happened to you, or if something amazing happened to you, it takes about 1 to 2 years to get you back to that standard level of happiness. Doesn't matter where you're at. Doesn't matter what happens to you. If you make it that long, if you make it that far, you're gonna make it to that set level of happiness. But happiness equals that set level plus conditions, so different circumstances you find yourself in, plus voluntary activities. So activities you voluntarily engage in and take part in, those three things combined equal your happiness. That's what constitutes your happiness. So something as simple as comparison, right? That's a voluntary activity. Once you compare, your happiness is going to plunge. He found something as simple as the time it takes you to commute to work in the morning has an effect on your happiness. So the longer the commute is, the less happy on average you are. Isn't that bizarre? I think that's crazy. But yeah, so there are certain things we need to do to make ourselves more happy. And it starts with the small things. Commuting, what you eat, what you put in your body, right? Exercise, working out, comparing yourself to others, having good friends around you, right? And I think one thing good friends will do is keep you from spending money, unnecessary money, right? So here's where I want to get into kind of that looking at the future. What can we do, right? If we recognize where we're at, if we stop comparing ourselves, if we focus on ourselves, if we have that tunnel vision, what can we do to build wealth in the future? And I think one thing we can do is that comparison, right? So like they have a Gucci bag, they have the nice car, Ferrari, right? They have a nice house. Instead of comparing yourself and instead of being jealous about what other people have, invest in your money, invest in yourself, and then watch that return grow with time. You should never invest your money into something that does not generate a return, right? That Gucci bag does not generate a return for you. That Lamborghini does not generate a return for you, right? That's why some of those really rich people, Warren Buffett, right? Or some other people, I mean, you'll see them drive a Toyota Camry that they've had for 20 years because that doesn't generate a return for them. So they would rather invest their money into something that generates a return. So being wise with the money that you have is such a crucial step in building that wealth, right? What are you building your house on? Are you building it on sand? Are you building it on material things? Or are you building it to stand and withhold storms, right? So are you building your house to withhold that financial storm? That's what we need to focus on, investing your wealth. I just read this recently for the first time and I was blown away. Proverbs 15:27. Listen to this. Proverbs 15:27 says, "Whoever is greedy troubles his household." Whoever is greedy troubles his household. If you're so focused on yourself, making yourself look good, you're going to trouble your household. If you only want that Gucci bag or that car or that house, you're taking away that money, you're taking away that focus from your loved ones, right? What if you've got a wife? You're not focused on her. You're not focused on caring for her. You're focused on getting that material thing, right? I'm not saying all material things are bad. Don't get me wrong here. I don't want people to think that material things are good and they're here for a purpose and we should use them wisely. But I think if your main focus is on that material thing instead of building your wealth for the future, you need to rethink your perspective, right? The more one gives instead of taking, instead of consuming, right? The more one gives, and Morrow Lindbergh said this actually. She said, the more one gives, the more one has to give. The more you give, the more you will have to give. So the platinum rule, one of my very good friends, he runs a business now. One of my very good friends, he gave me this book to read. Short book. It's got like 60, 90 pages, something like that. 60-page book by Art Fettig. called The Platinum Rule. Suggest it. Really great read. Short, but really powerful. And what Art talked about, what the Platinum Rule is it talks about generosity. He says this, right? He says, personally, I think this secret that we are sharing is not restricted to just one belief. It appears to work for most who generously commit. So generosity is what he's talking about. The Platinum Rule in his book is generosity. So he says, and it is not only your wealth, which I want you to share. He says, I want you to share 20% of your time, 20% of your talents, and 20% of your whole being. Wow. Isn't that insane? He continues. He says there, now that I've lost you, no doubt your immediate response is, I cannot afford to give up 20% of what I have. I cannot afford to give up 20% of what I have. So many people respond like that, right? I can't afford to give up 20% of my money. I can't afford to give up 20% of my time. I barely have enough time for myself. Art Fettig says, so many people look at the world's greatest givers, greatest philanthropists, and they say, sure, if I had that kind of money, I'd be a philanthropist too. And yet, this is what Art Fettig says. He says, I'm suggesting that those who give this way have great worth because they learned the secret of giving. What I've just discovered is that many of the world's greatest philanthropists were philanthropists when they had nothing. Wow. The more you give, the more you have to give. If you have a scarcity mindset, Luke Belmar talks about this too. If you have a scarcity mindset, only focus, I don't have enough. I don't have enough. How can I give other people my time, my finances, my money, my energy when I don't have enough for myself? Right? That's a scarcity mindset. If you have a scarcity mindset, you're not going to have enough. You're always going to be lacking. What Art Fettig found was the people that give generously now, right? People that give large sums of money, they've been giving for a long time. They've been giving since they had nothing. They didn't have that scarcity mindset. They had a mindset of abundance, an abundance mindset. So we need to shift our thinking from a scarcity mindset to a mindset of abundance and recognize how much we actually have to give. We can easily give 20% of our time, right? We can probably give 20% of our income. It's not just throwing it to the wind, right? It's being intentional about how and where you give your money and having that abundance mindset. So an easy way to start saving money. Some people are still going to be like, I don't have money. I don't want to give, right? How can I give 20%? Yeah, it's a number, right? It's a number. Give as much as you feel comfortable giving, I would say. Here's an easy way to save money though. And I've seen a lot of people do this, and a lot of people grow from what I'm about to say. And I'm growing myself even through this now. Easy way to start saving money, right? Take a look at everything you're spending money on right now. Eating out, ice cream, snacks, subscription, Netflix, Disney Plus, right? New phone. There's always money to save. Always. That doesn't mean you have to be stingy. I don't want you to be stingy, right? We can't spend money on this. We can't. There's a line, right? Aristotle said modesty or moderation is where virtue lies. Virtue lies in moderation, right? If you have too much of something, it's a vice. If you have too little of something, it's a vice. Virtue lies in moderation. Take a look at this, right? Your subscription service, Netflix. Netflix is like what, $20 a month? Think about this, right? Verizon has a deal with Netflix where Netflix is $10 a month. Already saving there. There's always a way to save. Always. Always. I used to work at phone sales, and bizarre what the numbers are, right? Some people came in with a $400 or $500 bill for their phone service. Two lines, $500 per month. Per month. I don't want to out myself here, but I'm paying $15 a month from my phone, which would be $30 a month for 2 lines. They were paying $500 for 2 lines. That's insane. There's always money to save, always. So a lot of people, though, they have a million options, right? And they'll choose the one that's presented first because it's easy, it's convenient, right? You go in a supermarket, $2 difference, whatever. I'll just pick this one, right? It's convenient. There's always a way to save, though. If you're being really intentional with your time, if you're being really intentional with where you spend money and how you spend money, you're going to see there's so much to save, right? Time is going to be your greatest investment because with time, you can save money. You can't save money with time. Warren Buffett, his investment philosophy was based around time and patience, right? So in the documentary Becoming Buffett, he says this. He says the biggest thing about making money is time. You don't have to be particularly smart. He says you just have to be patient. You just have to be patient. I want to break this down, right? Because a lot of people don't see this. I don't have time. That's what they keep telling you. I don't have time. I don't have time for this. I want to break this down for you, right? Let's say you get 8 hours of sleep a night. You need 8 hours. Okay. Let's say you work a 9 to 5. You're at work for 8 hours. Okay. We're at 16 hours in the day. The day is 24 hours. We're at 16. 8 hours of sleep. Many people don't even do that. 8 hours of sleep. You work for 8 hours. Let's say you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and all those take an hour, right? So an hour for breakfast, an hour for lunch, an hour for dinner. You're at 19 hours. Let's say you take an hour to get ready in the morning, right? Shower, makeup, getting dressed. You're at 20 hours. 20 hours for the day. What are you doing with the remaining 4? You already got sleep. You're already eating 3 meals a day. You're working 8 hours a day, getting ready in the morning. You've got 4 hours left. 4 hours left. I'll tell you, most people will spend those 4 hours watching Netflix, watching movies, scrolling on social media. They'll spend 2 hours scrolling on TikTok, right? Gaming. People will game for 4 hours. That's what they're doing with these 4 hours. Now, if you did all those things, right? Slept, ate 3 meals a day, worked 9 to 5, you've got 4 hours left. What if you invested that time into building a business, into starting a business, into producing content, right? What if you started a blog? What if you started a podcast? What if you started a YouTube channel? You've got 4 hours to build your brand and to invest that time into something profitable. Scrolling on TikTok will not make you money. It will not help you with family and friend relationships. It will not help you with your spiritual wealth. It will not help you physically or mentally be healthy. So what are you doing with those 4 hours that propels you forward into a better future, into a better life, right? Using our time wisely, using our money wisely, right? Proverbs 21:5. Proverbs 21:5 says this: the plans of the diligent lead to profit, as surely as haste leads to poverty. Plans of the diligent lead to profit, as surely as haste leads to poverty. Patience and time. Take it from Warren Buffett. Patience and time gets you places, gets you somewhere. All right, guys. I'm going to take a break. It's going to be a short break. All right, guys. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about social media and how that really affects your time and your effort and your energy and your wealth, mentally, physically, spiritually, and what we can do to use it wisely. All right, guys, welcome back. Before break, we talked about social media and mindlessly scrolling on TikTok. I want to talk about social media for a bit. So many people use social media the wrong way. So many people spend those 4 hours scrolling on social media. Now, social media, a lot of people will tell you, right, delete social media, get rid of it, it's not good for you. I wouldn't say delete it. Social media, like so many other things in life, is a tool that we can use. Knives hurt people. Knives can kill. We still use knives to smear bread. Everything you look at, everything you have, every object you have is a tool to be used the right way. You can use a tool the wrong way, and it can be devastating. But if we use tools the right way, they can be so helpful. Social media is one of those things, right? If you use social media the wrong way, it's devastating. It's a time suck. It has so many drawbacks, but using social media as a tool is immensely helpful. One easy step is, I would say, be a producer, not a consumer. All you do is consume social media. You're not doing anything. You're not doing any good for you. You're not doing any good for the people around you. You're not managing your time well. Your time is going out the window. I would say be a producer, not a consumer. Produce content that is helpful, that is beneficial for other people, that builds you up and that builds other people up. That's part of the reason why I'm doing this podcast, because I want to build myself up as I'm building other people up. And I want other people to be built up while they're building me up. Be a producer, not a consumer. Now, the reason I say this is in part because of, right, the friends that you have. Virtually everyone agrees with the saying that you are the product of the 5 people closest to you, right? You've heard that saying countless times. You are the product of the 5 people closest to you. But then you look at their friends. Then you look at their friends who go out drinking, who spend those 4 hours scrolling on social media, that create dances and don't do anything with their life, right? They have no ambition, they have no drive. No wonder you're not becoming rich. No wonder you're not becoming a better version of yourself, because you're surrounding yourself with bad influences, right? Over their day one. They've been with me since day one. But are they helping you? Are they doing you good? Are they propelling you forward? Because if not, it doesn't matter if they're day ones. If they're not helping you, if they're not making you a better person, why are you letting yourself be held back because of the people you surround yourself with? You are the product of the 5 people closest to you. You are the product of the 5 people closest to you. And if you want to become a better version of yourself, you need to have better friends. You need to have friends that support you and that help you and that lift you up and that are ambitious alongside you, right? Because it takes work. It takes effort. Becoming wealthy, getting to that next step requires work, and work requires effort. And putting an effort into work equals results. That's the only way that this game works. You work, you put in effort, and you get results, right? People want to be rich quick, but they forget that only work will get them to where they want to be. People forget that work, effort, and time will get them where they want to be, right? Money is the time and the energy of other people. It's not a quick game. I heard a quote, and this was very powerful. Somebody, I forget who said this, but they said the magic, might have been Alex Hormozy. He said the magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding. The magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding. Everything you go through in life, everything you go through can be figured out over duration and consistency. Everything you go through can be figured out over duration and consistency. Many of the rich people today, they start out with very little, next to nothing. And they worked 100 times harder than everyone else. They worked 10x, 100x, 1000x harder than everybody else around them, right? It's not a quick scheme to get rich. They worked, they put in effort, and they got results, right? Warren Buffett, patience and time. You got to invest in the right things, but then you got to have patience and time to see those results come to fruition. I want to give a couple examples because this blew my mind too. Elon Musk, right? Elon Musk, 1995. Elon Musk unsuccessfully applied for a job at Netscape. 1996, a year later, he was ousted as CEO of his own company, Zip2. 1999, the first PayPal product was voted as one of the 10 worst business ideas. And at the same year, I think it was December 1999, Elon Musk crashed his newly bought McLaren F1 worth $1 million. Next year, the very next year, he was ousted from PayPal, fired from PayPal while on a honeymoon. Wow. Same year, 2000, almost died from cerebral malaria. 2001, very next year, the Russians refused to sell him rockets to send mice planes to Mars. Next year, 2002, Russians turned him down again. 2006, SpaceX, first ever, I think it was SpaceX, right? First ever rocket launch, first explosion. Rocket exploded. 2007, next year, second rocket launch, second explosion. 2008, third rocket launch, and third critical failure with NASA satellites on board. Most people at this point would have given up. 2008, same year as the third rocket launch, both Tesla and SpaceX are on the brink of bankruptcy. 2014, Tesla Model S has several problems with spontaneous battery combustion. 2016, Model X deliveries delayed more than 18 months. Most people at this point would have given up. Tesla would not have existed. SpaceX would not have existed. Elon Musk would not have been the richest man on earth if he had given up because of those failures. And there's many more. This was a short list. It was a short list, and most people would have given up halfway through. Adversity will come your way regardless. You will experience adversity no matter where you are at in life. You will experience hardships. It's part of the game. It's part of life. You will encounter hard things that you will have to overcome. And if you don't overcome them, you will not grow. You will not become a better version of yourself. Had Elon Musk not overcome those obstacles, he would not have been the billionaire he is today. Right? And he's not the only one. So Steve Jobs worked out of his garage. Worked out of his garage. I was running a multi-million, if not billion-dollar company. Right? Luke Belmar was waiting tables. He was a multi-millionaire. Drop shipping, e-commerce, invested in stocks, cashed out on Bitcoin, 10x his portfolio, waiting tables in the beginning. If you don't have adversity, you will not grow. Facing obstacles is part of the game. It's part of the process. If you don't face obstacles, how are you growing? You're not. So, first of all, I want to say this. I would love to have any of those people on the podcast. Right, if you can connect me to Luke Belmar, if you can connect me to Elon Musk, if you can connect me to any of those people, I would absolutely love to have them on the podcast. So that's the challenge for you, everyone who's listening. If you can connect me with those people, I love you. I love you guys. But people forget two things very often. People forget two things, right? One, they forget where these rich people come from, where the rich billionaires come from, how hard they work to get where they are at now. Luke Belmar, waited tables, mopped floors, right? So many billionaires either have or have almost faced bankruptcy at some point in their life. Elon Musk for two different companies, SpaceX and Tesla, almost faced bankruptcy, right? People forget how hard they work to get where they are at now. They just see the money. They just see the status. They don't see the work behind it. Elon Musk slept on the floor of Tesla, stayed up, barely slept, right? Looked like crap at some point. And then he started working out and he looked better, but he worked hard to get there. Very hard, right? And the second thing people forget is how long it took to get there. Most of them, most millionaires, most billionaires are not in their 20s, not in their 30s. Most of them are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, right? Noah Kagan, he interviewed billionaires like John Paul DeJoria, founder of Patron Tequila, Paul Mitchell Hair Care, and what Noah Kagan found is that None of them became billionaires within 20 years. None of them. None of them became billionaires within 20 years. It took them more than 20 years to get to where they are at now. That's a long time, right? It takes you 30, 40, 50 years to get to where you are at. And it takes so much work and effort and time, patience and time. And people don't see that. People don't see what goes on behind that. So what I want to do is I want to encourage you here. I want to say this. Bide your time. Grind harder than everyone around you. Keep investing in yourself, right? Maximize your time. Gather the right people around you, and you'll make it. I have no doubt about it. If you have the right people around you, if you invest in yourself, you will make it. You will achieve. If you face adversity and overcome them and keep pushing, you will get there. Wherever it is you're going, you will get there. Nobody ever got from point A to point B without overcoming obstacles. And nobody got from point A to point B without overcoming those obstacles. Just giving up. Because if you give up, you have no chance. You have zero chance to make it to the other side, right? Michael Jordan. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So make a shot. Try to overcome the obstacle you face. Try. At least try. Because if you don't, you won't make it, guaranteed. If you try, you'll have a shot. There is a chance you'll make it, right? And again, with enough patience and with enough time and with enough effort, you will. Because we're talking about time, I do want to mention marketing. This is the space I'm most familiar with, is digital marketing, content marketing. So I want to mention this, right? It is much easier to market today than it was 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 years ago. And Luke Belmar, again, he calls it the digital gold rush. The digital gold rush. Digital marketing is so powerful because you can have an ad up and running within minutes. Within minutes, which means immediate feedback, which means immediate correction, which means immediate results, right? That's why digital marketing is so powerful. A lot of people use it wrong. They just throw out an ad and then see where it goes. Does it work? Does it not? But we need to recognize digital marketing isn't just one thing. It's not just a tactic, right? It's a strategy. You have to build a strategy with marketing to get somewhere. Sun Tzu, he was the author of The Art of War. Talking about war, he talked about strategy and tactics. He says strategy without tactics. Strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory. You'll get there. Takes a long time though. Right? Strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory. Tactics, individual battles, right? Individual things, throwing out an ad, doing content, blog, whatever. Tactics without strategy is the fastest way to defeat. Strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory. And tactics without strategy is the fastest way to defeat. We need to build a strategy, a marketing strategy, not just a tactic. Adam Earhart, phenomenally successful marketer, runs an marketing agency. He says customers don't buy when they understand. They don't. They buy when they feel understood. Your strategy, your marketing strategy needs to be looked at from the consumer perspective, right? Now, you're not a consumer. You're a producer, right? On social media. But you need to recognize that customers don't buy when they understand. They buy when they feel understood. Now, that means you don't need to do everything. You don't need to be everywhere. You need to be at the right place at the right time with the right material. I'm still part of the National Guard, but that was something that basic training really drilled and hammered into me, right? Be at the right place, at the right time, in the right uniform, right? And that same principle can be applied to marketing, should be applied to marketing, right? You need to be at the right place, in front of the right audience, at the right time with the right product or service to sell. That's all it is. You don't need to be everywhere. If you cast a wide net, you're going to target less people because your ad, if it's general, it's going to be way too general. And people don't like generalized ads, right? People like specific things. If you're targeting something specific, if you're targeting a specific audience with a specific product, with a specific service, that's going to make an impact. That's going to get you farther. Now, take your time, acknowledge your resources, save money where you can. I'm not going to name the service, but there's a subscription service that lets you download a list of 10,000 emails for $200 a month. $200 a month, 10,000 emails. I found that same service, $50. There's a guy willing to create a verified email list of 10,000 emails for $50. There's always a cheaper option. Always. Right? And Rick Warren said this. Rick Warren, he said, time is your most precious gift because you only have a set amount of it. Time is your most precious gift because you only have a set amount of it. So use it wisely. Use your time wisely. Your time here on earth is limited. Don't waste it. Don't be a slave to social media. Don't be a slave to appearance. Don't be a slave to work. Try to create wealth. Wealth in more aspects than just financial, right? You need to spend your time wisely. You need to spend your work and your effort wisely. Not have that scarcity mindset, but have a mindset of abundance. And I think that the first step towards building, towards appreciating that wealth is managing your time. And that's why I want to start out with episode 1, all about time management. Because the first step to building wealth and the first step to appreciating the wealth you already have starts with recognizing how much time you have, recognizing where to save time, where to get more time from, and spending it well. Spending the time you have with other people on your business, working, grinding, spending that time well. Guys, everyone listening today, thank you so much. I'm so excited. I am looking forward to doing more episodes, doing more shows, having more guests on the podcast. Really looking forward to that. I've got some plans to reach out to some people and get some interesting stories and get some good guests on the podcast. If you guys have any suggestions, I'd love to hear them. Write them in the comments. I do read them. I'm so stoked. I'm so excited. Thank you guys for joining me here today. I hope you got something out of this as much as I did. As I was writing my notes, as I was talking now, I really learned a lot, and I hope you did too. And I just want to say, if you did, let me know what the most prominent thing is that stood out to you. What stood out to you the most? What I missed? I would love to hear what I missed, and how I can make this podcast more enjoyable and more fruitful for you guys. Thank you guys for joining me today. God bless you. I'll see you next time.